What's going on, everyone? This is Mitch with SC Weather. This is the second video of the day. We, in this video, are going to begin to re-break down what's going on next weekend into the week after. I feel like we've been talking about this potential Arctic air mass for a long time now. I really do. I feel like I've been talking about it for a couple weeks. But we're going to talk about what we know because I've been getting a lot of questions. Is it going to snow in this county? Is it going to snow in this town? Is it going to do this, that, and the other? And guys, I understand you want to ask that. That's cool. I love to answer it, but I just hate having to give y'all the same answer, and it's basically a I don't know, but in a fancy way, because I don't, and nobody is, and anybody's going to give you that answer. We just are not going to know if it's going to snow 7 days out. Definitely send it 7 to 10 days out, and especially in the southeast. I mean, you can't make a call like that. So we're going to talk about what we do know, and what we do know is there continues to be wild swings in the models, and you're going to continue to see snowflakes on your phones saying it's going to snow 7, 8 days from now. So one thing I can say is I really do think we're eventually going to get this Arctic air mass in. When? I just still don't know. I'm thinking it might arrive sometime this coming weekend, next weekend. But again, that's 7 days out. So I'm going to tell you, just talk about how things are adjusting, talk about, my opinion on winter weather threat in the area, and we're going to break it all down and just what we do know. And we're going to continue to do this in the next several days until we do know something concrete, until maybe by this coming Thursday or Friday we can start talking about maybe some kind of storm chance. So before we get going, guys, if you have not subscribed, much appreciated if you do. I make daily updates. I provide daily updates on what's going on in the weather. So definitely hit the subscribe button, like the video if you do. And as always, man, I really appreciate all you guys' support. Like I said, this is kind of a mini dream come true for me, as I mentioned in many of my videos. So thank y'all for all the support. So as usual, we're going to get started with this video, and we're going to start off at just the National Weather Service. This is the professionals. Then the climate, they're still saying in the 6-day range. That's February 12th through the 16th. So that's coming up. It's still you can tell with the Arctic air mass is dropping down right here, right? But they're still giving us in the southeast and the east coast a strong chance of below average temperatures. Now you look at the same kind of time frame, and actually I think I clicked the 8 to 14 day outlook, and I'm actually going to show you this, but it's pretty much the same thing. It says there's a chance of above average precipitations because there's going to be an active jet while this trough is trying to set up. So low pressure is going to try to find the trough, obviously, and it's going to ride that, and we're going to see what we can get depending on where the Arctic front sets up. So 8 to 14 day outlook. Obviously, it's a lot more uncertain. You don't see a more deep, high probability one way or the other, but it does have it more shifted east because they do think between the 14th and the 20th of February, it's going to be cold in the east. I think that's when the Arctic air is finally going to work through. So we're going to start off by looking at the GFS ensemble. So this is the heights and anomalies. So basically, what I'm showing here is this was for next Saturday, and this is going to be hard to understand, but basically this is your Arctic air, your cold air mass here, and this is ridging. So obviously you got lower heights and higher heights. Higher heights in this situation would be a ridge or warmer than average temperatures. Lower heights would be colder than average temperatures. But basically what it's showing here is this is the piece of the polar vortex, or whatever you want to call it, that it's going to generate our Arctic air mass that we need this coming weekend, or we're looking to happen. So look right here. I back it up to the previous run. This is the previous GFS ensemble run. This is the previous one to that one. This is the previous one to that one. So at this point we're about, I think, a day behind. So we're going to go back up 2 days. So obviously look at it. It looks a little bit different. So I'm going to go all the way back to the present run, which is right now. So we're going to run through it. See how it wobbles back and forth? Each wobble plays a huge part on what happens downstream as far as, is there going to be a system? Where's the cold air going to be? So each little wobble you see there is huge. Now this is natural for wobbles to happen like this as it tries to figure out what the long range is going to do. But it makes trying to figure out what the weather's going to be at even 5 to 7 days out. You just don't know. You look at the just to flat out the temperatures of the GFS ensembles. This is this coming Wednesday. So we're going to get a little bit further in time. Each time you see an 18Z right there, that is high temperatures, pretty much. So obviously this is showing highs in Minneapolis at -10 degrees, and highs in the negatives, highs in the teens down here, lower in the Midwest, in the Ohio Valley, highs in the 20s. This is just the 18Z GFS ensembles. So you get going here, it shows it dipping more and more southeast. So we're getting closer. We're getting into Friday, high temperatures. And this is the southeast ridge flexing. It's baking in Florida for February standards, and it's trying to show you that there's multiple runs showing the southeast ridge flexing a little bit, but at the same time, it's leaving the possibility that the front could arrive. So you get a little bit further in time. This is getting into Saturday. You notice it's getting a little bit further. You're getting highs in the 20s and teens in Arkansas and Tennessee, northern Mississippi, Alabama, and look how cold it is in Texas. I mean, the cold air is getting closer. It's crazy how cold it's going to be in the Midwest as this Arctic air is just kind of sitting over them, wanting to try to beat down this ridge, trying to sit over. It's still cold. I mean, these are still cold temperatures for Saturday, but look as you get closer. Bang. I mean, it gets even colder. I mean, 4 degrees in Kentucky or Tennessee, and then you get to Saturday, and it's showing highs in the 30s and 40s in the southeast, and below freezing up in Virginia, and below freezing in Tennessee, and parts of Alabama, Mississippi. So you get past that, and check it out. This is where it's really wanting to get the Arctic air mass in place. So this is crazy, So eventually it gets here, but we're talking about 7 to 8 days out, and I feel like I've been saying that over and over again, and it's backed up. I would say that a little bit in short term, the latest GFS ensembles for the 18C was a little bit warmer, but long term, it's cold. So what you got here is and everybody wants to know about snow. So I go out to this weekend. Notice, and I know this is going to be very small on your screen, and a lot of this is for the storm right now, like right here. You notice it's picking up. This is for the storm going on right now, which is actually snowing in parts of the upstate of South Carolina, North Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee right now as I speak. So this is the storm going on right now. I put a video on it earlier. But as we get into time, you notice how it grows right here. We get into Saturday. This weekend was the time frame that everybody was talking about, that maybe we could see some snow, some wintry weather, right? So are we still talking about it or not? Well, nothing's really showing up for the southeast anymore. There is a little bit of a CAD threat, cold air damming, meaning ice, but it's really trending away from all of that. So I don't think there's going to be any winter weather this weekend. But let me tell you, I don't know for sure. Everything could swing back, and we just don't know now. And it's not anything to get excited about if you're a winter weather fan. Now things have shifted into more of a threat for early next week. And maybe the middle part of next week, but guess what, guys? That's 7 to 10 days out. So it's you can't get excited about anything 7 to 10 days out. And the reason I say it's shifted, because models are really starting to somewhat agree that there is going to be an Arctic air that's eventually going to bleed into the southeast. There's starting to come agreement. It's not a matter of if, it's more of a matter of when. And I really think it gets into the area. So once it's in the area, you get into next Monday, next Tuesday, and look what grows here. You see how it dipped down here? To me, that looks like a cold air damming signal. And then look over here, it's still in Louisiana, a solid signal, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina. So that tells me that once the Arctic air gets in place, after it kind of loses its punch, not loses its punch, but gets a little more displaced, there's just cold air in place, and it gets a little less hyper, if you will, because when you got a huge Arctic air mass that just plows into the area, you're going to get suppressed systems initially when that Arctic air mass is really in place. So you're not going to get any system at all. But once it calms down a little bit and the core of the Arctic air mass isn't over you, the pattern starts to relax, then you can get a system behind it. And they call it, basically at the end of a pattern. It's a lot of times when you can get a storm system. So we're going to look at just the operational GFS run here, so it's just one run. It doesn't even matter, really. And here it is. you get into time and check it out. I mean, if this low pressure trends a little bit further, if the trough digs a little bit more over here, and basically if you can get more of an axis to it, meaning if the trough digs more like this, instead of maybe like this, then heck, you end up with some kind of severe weather threat if and get into a warm sector here in Georgia and the Carolinas. But you just don't know. It's just one model run, so it's nothing you can really set in stone. So here it is. Here's what was our storm and all the crazy models runs a few days ago, and now it's just rain for the southeast. You got some ice showing up in Virginia, snow in mid-Atlantic, but so what, because it's so far out. But check it out, as you get cold air in place, you get this little system that slips through later in the weekend, next weekend. It's close. You got a big snow event going on, and this is some high ratio snow because this is snow falling in an Arctic air mass. So who knows if that's going to happen, but what I do want to show you is once the Arctic air, the core of it's right over us next Monday, according to the GFS. But then after it relaxes, here you go, you got a suppressed system, but it's there enough to create a massive ice storm. But guess what? It's at day 10 and 11. Who cares? And so we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. Show some massive ice storm 258 hours out. We can't even figure out when we're going to get this Arctic air mass. So to me, 8 to 10 days out is eternity in the weather world, and as far as models. And these models keep getting shared, and I know that I have shared them earlier in the week, maybe when I shouldn't have. I don't want to give y'all the right idea, even though in the videos I always explain that they're just one operational run. So I'm going to do a little bit better with that, because I don't want y'all getting confused. So this is just 11 days out, so it doesn't matter. So this is the core. This is that piece of the polar vortex, if you will. This is the core of the Arctic air, and this is for next weekend. So there it is. You back it up, run, and look, it's a little bit further. It's displaced a little bit further north. You back it up another run. It's a little bit of a better place. So when is this core of this cold air? When is it going to decide what time frame it wants to be at? Once we know that, once we know we can get some cold air, which I do think it's going to get here, after we know that, and after it's here, then we really can start looking at the next few days ahead of it. It's the same thing if you look back, say, the January 2018 Arctic outbreak. Basically, January 1st, I believe, you had this big-time Arctic air mass that came down around New Year's Eve, and the last day of 2017. It came into the area. The core of it was over the area on New Year's Day, and then there was still cold, dry air mass in place that was still suppressing systems. But guess what? You eventually had some kind of low pressure that formed off the coast of Florida, and it was able to inch close enough to the Carolina coast and Georgia coast and even Florida to give winter weather and a historic winter storm in areas. But once you have cold air here, you can work wonders. You just got to get the cold air here. And that's what the age-old saying, you got to get the cold air here first. That's always the number one rule, and it is. Especially if you want weather deep in the South, in South Carolina, deep in Georgia. But here it is. This is we're switching over to the European ensembles now, and this is temperature anomalies. This is temperatures compared to average. So when we get later this week, we're gonna flex. Basically, the southeast ridge is gonna flex on us a little bit, meaning that it's just gonna ridge a little bit because this cold air is dumping so far out west. It causes a ripple effect and basically causes a trough to form in the southeast ridge to kind of pop its head a little bit. Classic La Nina look. But eventually on the European ensembles, the cold air, as you get into the latter part of next weekend, it bleeds east, comes east, and you get cold air even on this. But, you look at the European ensembles, they're not impressed. You go all the way out, even deep into the run. I mean, there's just not a lot of cold air. There's not a lot of winter weather. Even though this does just show snowfall, it doesn't really pick up on ice, I don't believe. So that's a good look for Tennessee. Yeah, it's a good look for you guys, but it's not really a good look for the deep south. So, good look for maybe the mid south. So we're going to look at the European, the run from earlier. We're going to go all the way out in time. Of course, that's the first system, and here it comes, and we got to watch for an ice storm. You know, I don't mention these guys a lot, but we got to watch for some kind of ice storm, maybe in the way upper mid south, if that's even a thing, in the Ohio Valley, because there's going to be some kind of Gulf moisture right here. There's going to be an Arctic air mass dropping down, so watch for a widespread ice storm somewhere, maybe in the Ohio Valley, but nothing's set in stone even in that area, you know. So here comes a storm system. This is going to be some kind of big time storm system. Where the winter weather sets up, we just don't know. And it's not even worth talking about right now, but this will be all rain for the south. Who knows, if this thing keeps getting super far, like I said, you might get some kind of severe weather threat, but we'll watch that. I doubt it, but check it out. This is a little bit of winter weather that pops up deep in Texas, because what's happening is the cold air is dumping far out west. So you get further in the run, and eventually it gets here, and here comes that same kind of storm that the GFS is showing, but it's so far out and it's not as cold. So you look right here. It's the last thing I want to show you, and I'm done here. And I'm going to show you the GFS, and I'm just going to show it for Columbia, South Carolina. I'm going to show you because it's just the city I live in, and I felt like it's a good city that's a lot more southern, it's, you know, a main city in the southeast. So this is the GFS, just the GFS operational run, not the ensemble. So I want to show you how much different the GFS run looks than the Euro. So check it out here. A normal kind of week in February. You know, we're getting into the middle part of February at this point, and you know, average highs start getting into the upper 50s around here, into the low 60s. So it looks like, honestly, we don't even have a day below freezing. But look, when the Arctic front comes Sunday eventually, and look, it wants to try to throw us in the freezer in middle February. I mean, this is the lows aren't that crazy, but the highs are pretty crazy for mid to late February. But you look at the European run, for example, it shows some kind of front working here through, but check it out for next Monday, 61 degrees for a high, but on the GFS it says 33 degrees for a high in the same city. Two different runs. So it gives you a good idea that we just have no idea. I don't even know if it's going to be a cold weekend, because I don't know if the front's going to move through on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, or Monday. So we might end up being in the 70s and 60s for some areas in the Carolinas and Georgia, or we might be in the 40s for highs. We just don't know. So this is an interesting setup, and this is going to be, nobody knows, guys. Nobody knows what's going to happen. I wish I did, but nobody does. But we're going to find out a lot this week. So that's all I got, guys. I appreciate y'all tuning in, and I'll have y'all another update tomorrow. And so y'all have a great night. And y'all enjoy the snow who is seeing it. We got a little bit of sleet and rain here in Columbia, but obviously no snow. So if you see some surprise snow here in the upstate in South Carolina and Georgia, enjoy it, because it doesn't happen a lot, obviously, these days. So y'all have a great night.